black as night, worse death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right.
I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the 1-year anniversary of the Cousins Coven Podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys.
Woo, can you believe we've been doing this for 1 year?
No, it's just gone by so fast. It's been pretty amazing.
I know. I have enjoyed this process so much. So we have devised a little episode about answering all these different questions about the podcast and all the different various subjects we cover.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. These questions are going to be kind of cool.
Yay! I did want to cover some news, because I know we both love ghost hunting TV shows, especially Ghost Hunters.
Yes.
And both Jason and Grant, the main two dudes and investigators of that show, I found out both have their own ghost shows that are coming out.
That's so cool. Okay, so I only knew about one. So now they're both going to do it?
I know. I was super surprised. So I had heard about Ghost Nation, which was, I think, Jason's show, the taller, bald one, I believe. And so he's on the show with a couple of the other guys that we know from Ghost Hunters, like Steve and Dave Tango. And that's going to be coming out in October. So that's the one I was aware of as well. And I was just super excited for, because I love their style of ghost hunting and how they take things seriously. And they kind of go into a place thinking it's not haunted and then go from there. And then the one that I just found out about yesterday is with Grant, and he's going to be doing a show. What is it called? I think it's called, I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, he has a show. I think it might be on A&E or Travel Channel or something. And so they even advertise it as you know him from Ghost Adventures, and now he's back with his own show. And so I was just really surprised.
That's very cool. How exciting.
I know. There's all this online speculation. It's oh, well, were they feuding? Is that why they wouldn't go back together? And so I tried to do a little digging before this episode, and I found out no, they just ended up having different opportunities, and they always were on good terms and loved working with each other. So I'll definitely be watching both.
Yes, me too.
Maybe it's just called Ghost Hunters.
Oh.
Because when I click on it, it just says Ghost Hunters, new series, Wednesday, August 21st, 9 p.m.
Oh, okay. So maybe it is.
It's just Ghost Hunters.
It is. You're right.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. And it looks like there's 2 chicks on the team, so that's cool. 3 new guys, and then Grant.
Okay. So he's got a whole new team.
So by the time this episode airs, this probably will be out or just coming out.
Okay.
But yay, exciting for new ghost hunting shows. So we will probably be watching those, and I will definitely be sharing.
Absolutely.
If I find any cool stuff
very
on there.
Cool.
Yay. So should we just jump into today's main thing?
Yeah, I think we have a lot to cover, hopefully. So
okay,
let's do it. So you guys, we've kind of devised these questions for this show. As Sharon was talking about, and we've each got our own little cauldrons. So each of us has 10 questions in our respective cauldrons, and we're going to do this little Q&A, and we hope that you enjoy it.
Yes, harkening back to where we started, where we used to just pull topics out of our cauldron, but today it's our questions.
Yes. Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Okay, I've got my hand in here. I am going to grab us our first question. Ooh, it's a big one.
Okay.
Okay, so this is kind of a 2-parter.
Okay.
Would you be willing to kill a cryptid to prove to the world that they are real? Or would you leave them alone to live peacefully, but in secrecy forever? The world could never know they existed.
I would never kill a cryptid.
Yay!
I could never, ever do that. I have a hard enough time killing bugs or spiders even, so I know that I could never do that. I wonder if I would probably want to try to befriend them if they would.
Of course you would.
Yeah, if they would talk to me.
Yeah, honestly, and just have a really good ally, maybe, or an alliance with this other species of fairies or Bigfoots.
Yeah, exactly. What about you? How would you answer this question?
I agree. As much as I want to grab people by their shirt collar and be the Patterson footage is real, you asshole, Bigfoot's real, I wouldn't want to shoot Bigfoot just to prove he was real.
Exactly.
I think it's such a male perspective to think in the science community, it was all about like killing the beast to prove that he was real and to get your reward kind of a thing and get fame. And I don't know, like you said, we just don't have that in us.
Yeah, it just seems so inhumane. That'd be like, what if they did that to us? How would that make us feel?
I think that kind of means we wouldn't be allowed to share it on podcast either.
I guess we'd have to keep it to ourselves. But I'd be like, I know something you don't know.
That's our cue for that we encountered Bigfoot, but we're respecting his privacy.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to pull out a question too. Let's see what we've got. How do you prepare for a podcast episode?
Okay. So for me, it definitely depends on the type of episode we're doing, but I am always doing some type of research or refreshing on a subject, type of magic. If it's researching, I'll be reading books and news articles online and different blogs, watching YouTube videos, documentaries, really diving into something. I feel like that's how I prepare. Like, just every week it feels like I'm always working towards some new research topic, and it keeps my brain super occupied, and I love it.
Exactly. I love it. That's exactly, I mean, I do all those same things. But I gotta say, on the day of when I'm preparing for an episode, I usually like to do a little meditating prior, because I get a little bit nervous even after this. We've done so many episodes. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna sound interesting enough? It's my own fear inside. So I'm just like, okay, I've got to prepare and I've got to have some confidence and
just get that right mindset.
That's right, for sure.
That's awesome. I love that you are so dedicated to meditating. Like, I know that was my goal, to be meditating, and I still have not been doing it every day, but one day that'll be my answer.
Yeah, I've even bumped it up. So like in the car now, I don't even usually listen to music in the car. I'm usually not meditating, but I'm doing those ohms.
Yeah, please don't meditate while you're driving.
I don't meditate and drive. I learned my lesson from that, but because I did do that once. But
like automatic driving.
Yeah, but now I make sure that I'm like doing those deep throat ohms, kind of like Frankie from Grace and Frankie.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, but I'm doing that in the car.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And it really helps my driving. Like, it's really improved my ability to deal with jerks on the road.
Would you ever record your own ohms like Frankie did to play for her yams, but would you ever listen to that like on the way to work, your own voice, and do it with it? I
don't know, maybe. I did notice a difference. Like, I always try to figure out where my ohms are when I start. Like, they're usually at this one level, but by the time I get to work, they're at a higher level, because I'm always like trying to boost myself up, because my job kind of takes a lot out of me. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm there, it's just like something's chunking away one piece at a time, and I want to make sure that I'm boosted up on this higher level so that by the time I leave work, I'm not a piece of dirt on the ground.
That's so true. Like, you kind of have to get that barrier protection just to make it through.
Yeah.
I'm still like, I have so many just thoughts of you doing that and driving. It's really funny. Like, I also wanted to know, like, is it exclusively if you're alone you'll do the ohms, or is it in front of all of your family?
No, it's always when I'm alone. I haven't worked myself up to do it in front of other people, but maybe if we take a road trip, I would do it with you.
Yes, I'm curious. I think we should ohm together.
Yes, exactly. It'll be funny the first time you do it, because it kind of vibrates in your throat. And I remember the very first time I did it in the car, I actually coughed up some stuff that tasted disgusting.
What?
And I was like, I guess I just launched my anger.
Dang, this is a little demon of phlegm.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I went to my first Reiki yoga session. I don't know if I told you much about it, but they would do, like, they were in the class I was in. They would just go from one weird technique to the next. I shouldn't say weird. I use weird kind of loosely and endearingly. Like, I call myself weird, just FYI. Like, I'm not judging Reiki or anything. Not Reiki. Right. Did I say Reiki?
You did, but it's Reiki. I don't mind.
I'm not even saying the right word. I'm thinking Kundalini. Kundalini yoga is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
My head is in the clouds. I went to my first session of Kundalini yoga. And so they have all these crazy techniques, and some of them were like, now lay on your back and you're going to be doing this breathing technique where you're like snoring, and I really want you to get into it, and nostril, and I want to hear your nostril. And like, I have no qualms about doing this in public. I was like, okay, I got this. And it's like, and we're all just like making snoring noises for like 3 minutes. We're doing this exercise, and then she'll like gong and we do something else. And she's like, now sit up and you're going to be slapping your legs. And so it's like slap, 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 slap. She's like, you're waking up your body. And it would just like keep transitioning to all these different like techniques, and it was a trip, man.
That's cool. Some of them, I would be totally down to do that.
I know, you would love it. Like, some of them were the alternated nostril breathing while like keeping your kind of like semi-closed eyes up at your third eye, and I was like, oh, that's so good to like get you really intuitive and connected. So I'd be down to do some alming, is what I'm trying to say.
Very cool. I'm loving it.
Okay, so we're gonna next question.
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's my turn here. Let's grab a question from the cauldron. What is one of your favorite topics that we have covered so far on podcast?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know.
Because they're all so good. Mm-hmm. I do have to say I really enjoyed our Witchy-Palooza episodes, so that one would probably be in one of my tops. But I also love the episodes that we do where we're telling stories, because they're so much fun. Mm-hmm. So, like, when we did Urban Legends, I love doing that storytelling.
Yes, I agree.
So, yeah. One of these days we'll get so into it that I would like to use special voices, because I do like to do voice acting sometimes, and I thought you did too, so.
That's true, yes.
Yeah. Use my little ability. What about you? What is one of your favorite topics?
I agree with the two that you mentioned. Those are good highlights. Another one that I would always go back to is I really liked our, it was like we talked about demonology, possessions, and exorcisms.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. That was
really fun, like looking into that perspective on demons and all that, and how a priest would go about their rituals, and that was a lot of fun. Obviously really love the spiritualist movement. That's why we did 2 parts. Mm-hmm. I literally love that stuff. And all of my witchcraft cauldron topic stuff that we were doing heavily in season 1 was super fun. Yeah. And it was just so informative. And I felt like my mental book of shadows was just growing.
That's so cool. I love it.
I say, speaking of voice acting, I just have to shout out the podcast Diana's Monster, because we both did some voices in season 3.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So you can go listen to that if you want a scripted podcast and catch Wendy and I in season 3.
Yeah, see if you can catch our voices, because I think I used a totally different voice. I didn't use my own, so
yeah.
It'll be fun.
I tried to do that, like my first episode I was in, and then like when I went back to record the others, I couldn't remember what I was doing or what my character was in my head, and so like my voice didn't match, and I had to go back and re-record everything. And he was like, it's just better when you're just being yourself. Stop trying to like sound like a deeper voice, because I'd be like, my name's Diana, and he's just like, nah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, what do you have for us next?
Okay, let's see what's in here. Do you have a daily protection ritual that you use?
I don't have like a set thing that I'm always doing. I just have this confidence now that I feel protected. Like, I feel like I've made those connections with my spirit guides or my ancestors that like they've got me. And I feel like I've been a strong enough witch to have myself. But there's times where I feel like I strengthen those foundations when I'm doing certain things.
Sure.
But that's not like on a daily.
Gotcha.
But what about you? I know you love protection stuff.
I do. And I used to be really like constantly doing protection spells throughout the day, because I felt negativity was always trying to attack me. And I think that's partially because of my empathic ability and feeling all of the negative energies around me. So I was constantly protecting myself. Now, instead of doing these rituals every single day, I am now wearing specific jewelry that I've kind of charmed, and so that I know that I have that protection around me, so that it blocks any negative energy from trying to attach itself to me, because that does happen frequently to me.
I love that, and I do this, like, know what you mean. Like, I have a lot of crystals that I wear, and I feel like that is a talisman and protection.
It is. Yeah, it's great. So that's kind of what I do now. instead of constantly, like, I used to put a protection spell around my house every single night before bed. And I think I even stopped kind of doing that because we charmed some rocks and put them in different areas around the house to protect it. So
little grids. I love that.
Yeah, we do little grids. So now I'm feeling a lot better. And I wouldn't have known how to do any of that had we not started this podcast. So it's pushed me to be a better witch, maybe, because I don't really label myself a witch, but I am at the same time.
Right, and I would say I wouldn't even use the word better, just constantly transforming, you know?
Right.
Like, we're always from one place going to another. It's a journey.
Yeah. I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, and I realized that maybe 5 years ago, I had this dream that I was always living in a house with a purple door.
Yes.
And it wasn't until yesterday that I realized that was my inner self trying to tell me, you're a witch. Why don't you just wake up to that? That you can live in any house that you want to as long as you are there.
Yeah.
You can have your witchy things. So
I love purple everything, especially purple doors. So
yeah.
I'm down for that.
I was born loving that color, just so you know. Like, purple's been my favorite color since I was a little girl, so I was like, sweet.
I think that the exact same thing. Like, you know, as my family, like, I had a song too about the color purple. Everything was purple.
Nice.
And when I've looked into that, like, it's just about the third eye and being really intuitive and a very spiritual person. And even when I've had people tell me they can see my aura, they said it was a really dark purple. And I was like, yeah, that's my magical color. Like, when I cast circles, it's always a purple circle. When I do magic, it's always a purple magic. So for someone to tell me that was my aura who didn't know that about me, it was like, yes.
It's awesome.
So we definitely connect on that level of that purple magic, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't wait
Fabulous.
till we can make a purple little circle together.
That's right. That's right.
Should I go on to the next question?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Has your personal ghost activity increased in the last year?
Yes, I would say so.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, tell me more. Is there? I mean, I feel like you've told me all your ghost stuff on podcasts.
Yeah, I try to tell as many ghost stories as I possibly can, but I obviously don't get to tell every single story on podcast. But I feel like even though it's constantly surrounded me, I've had this thing where I've blocked for many years. I've also blocked them from contacting me, and now I'm more open to them and more aware of maybe not what they are, but what they represent, and I'm not as fearful. So I feel like because of that, they do come to me more often or more frequently. Yeah.
Once you start opening that doorway and acknowledging them, I think that is true, that they'll come through a little more. Right.
And it's not like I used to always think that it was negative, and I think that's partially because of our upbringing. And not just our upbringing per se, but the
society
stigmas, society stigmas on us, and so I just felt such negativity towards it. But now I don't feel those negative energies like I was feeling. So now it's more a positive note, and I really enjoy it. So
yeah,
it's nice.
I know that, like, doing this podcast with you and hearing all of your firsthand accounts, like, it really opened me up to a whole new world of possibilities, because I never discounted you or your stories. I was like, no, this is my cousin. Like, this is for real. That means this stuff is real. And so, like, my mind has really just been opening and expanding on the paranormal front. And as far as experiencing it, I think that does play into it. And I had the experience of hearing a ghost this year. I heard the baby cry ghost. I was in the haunted hotel where I was stacked the glasses to see if they'd get knocked over, and they did get knocked over by ghosts. So I had a seance with somebody. So that stuff I had been doing before, but I think that the ghost hunting aspect of going to more haunted places and just having ghosts on the brain, I've even had more experiences in my house, and just been more open to it now that we've talked about how it's just energy and things like that. Like, I just see it differently than just something scary, you know?
Right, exactly. So now more and more will happen as time goes on. So whoop, whoop.
Very true.
Okay, let's see if I've got another question here. The next one is, do you have a favorite type of alien?
I obviously really like the cat aliens. I think they're
Yes.
the Lyrians or the Lyrans.
Yes.
Those are cute. And I have a love-hate with the Greys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's just America or whatever, but we just have such a pop culture relationship with the Greys. They're everywhere. Yeah. And so I can either look at them as like fun, loving aliens like E.T. that are your little best friend. And then there's that whole fear, like X-Files. They're going to put stuff up your butt and cut you open kind of fear.
Right.
You know?
They're going to impregnate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no!
Yeah. So Greys really capture my imagination. I guess Greys would take the cake. But maybe that's just because that's what I've had the most exposure to, like most people.
Sure.
What about you?
Mine is going to be the Pleiadians, I think.
Nice. The sexy aliens.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to have some aliens, I want them to be hot. So might as well go with that.
Yeah. Do you feel like a connection to them, or what draws them to you?
I don't feel a connection with them per se. Mm-hmm. I think it's just their persona of happiness that I like. And obviously I want happiness surrounding me. So if they are a truly happy race, then I would want them in my life.
Gotcha. But you're not like trying to be one of those people who channels Pleiadians, I guess?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
It's like you should.
I probably could, but I don't know. Maybe that's something we can dig into sometime when we're together.
So I recently found out that Jimi Hendrix has this whole alien connection, and I really wanted to tell you this, and now I'm finally remembering it. But his bandmate and lifelong friend wrote a book about his experiences, and you can kind of hear tones of it in his music. But Jimi Hendrix said that wherever he played, there would be UFO phenomena, and they were like following him everywhere his whole life. And he feels like he was a starseed, and that this was his first life on Earth. And that's why he was such a great musician. And he was really, really spiritual and into these other planes of existence. And like, I guess, channeled them, had seen them. He's had witnesses who've seen them with him. And there's an actual book like that his bandmate wrote that you can buy on Amazon. It's just really expensive. It's like $60. Wow. So I want to like learn more about that, but I didn't want to pay the $60 right now.
Sure. I'd have to look and see if maybe they have it at the library, but...
It just sounds fascinating.
That's cool.
Right?
I had no idea.
Yeah, it kind of explains why he's so amazing and such an artistic individual.
In that time period, there was a lot of drug activity, so there's a possibility that the mind was open up enough that kind of let down those walls that we typically have up. Yeah,
it's kind of like a form of communication with other beings. Like I have had friends who've done that, and they've seen like people just dancing in front of them and felt love and happiness, and like depending on where they're looking, they'll see different entities. Like,
right.
Definitely think that if he was to try shrooms or DMT or whatever, he could contact aliens. It's like such a great little fantasy to think of.
Well, and there's that thing. I'm real close to being able to unlock it. I think that DMT experience without actually doing DMT. I feel like I've unlocked it maybe once or twice. Where I've had this DMT-like experience, but it's not like I'm doing the drug. It's just, I don't know any other way to explain it other than the fact that I've read so much on DMT and heard so many people's experiences on it since my instance happened, because I wanted to look into it so much. And I was like, whoa, that is an experience that I've had, but I was completely sober. I was just meditating. So
I was going to say, what are you doing to get there?
I think it's just meditating. Like I'm in this extremely deep meditative state, but I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about anything in particular. Like I've just released all of the negative holds that this world kind of has on us sometimes. And if I can just release that down a little bit, then that's when I start seeing my experiences to the point where I don't remember if I talked about this on podcast or maybe if I just talked about it with you, but I was having this meditative experience and I felt like I was in connection with the world around me as far as the wind, the trees, everything. Like I could see it in its actual colors and its actual I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, I don't know any other way to explain it than to explain it like a trip of a drug, because that's what it was almost like.
So you saw like different wave patterns and things were slowing down almost?
Yes. Time didn't exist in that moment. So for me, it was like time stopped and I was able to just move around freely in an astral form almost, but not in an astral form because I was still in my body.
That is very trippy.
It is. It's extremely trippy. But once again, like I said, I was just in a deep meditative state, but with my eyes open. And then obviously my third eye open so that I could really see everything for what it was. And I felt like in that moment I could see the wind and feel the wind and just experience the wind going through the tree and what the tree would feel like.
You had your Pocahontas Colors of the Wind moment.
Exactly. Something like that.
I mean, it's really crazy, and I'm wondering if that is just because you are so on this other level meditation-wise, if this is something everyone could do, or if it just comes to you more naturally. Like, it's an intense thing.
I have read of people who meditate constantly that they have had experiences this way, so I feel like there is the potential that every human could tap into it if they chose to. But you really have to. You have to set down your electronics and you have to turn your phone off and get out into nature and
connect
and do these things and connect.
Yeah, I do think that the phone is a purposeful distraction from the government. That's very conspiracy theorist mind, but it's also 100% the truth. Like, they're tracking us with it, they're distracting us with it, they're monitoring us, you know.
Yeah,
get off
if you talk about something and then you see an ad for it.
I'm looking at my phone like real suspiciously as I say this. I'm like,
It is sitting in front of me now, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys.
I use you for everything, but I hate you. So have you seen those meditation like pyramids that you can sit in? It's like a copper pyramid, and something about copper, I believe it's copper, is supposed to like induct your meditation and heighten it.
I haven't seen that, but I could see that working for me.
Right? I was thinking about that, like, we should get one.
That would be totally awesome. I could see that working.
Yes. Should we do the next question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. What do we got here? If you were a ghost, where would you want to reside?
Probably not in a house. I love the beach so much. It's hard for me to say. I guess I would haunt the beach, but everywhere, not just one specific beach. I'd want to travel to all of the beaches.
Real ambitious.
Yeah. So
that's really
cool. What about you?
I don't think this is an original thought. I think I stole this from maybe my stepmom, but it's just such a good idea. It's that I'd love to haunt like Disneyland. Nice. And just like live in Pirates of the Caribbean maybe. And spook people.
Yeah.
And like just people watch maybe. I don't know. But I like the idea of you being like a beach ghost. That sounds like something on a Pokemon episode where they just go and there's a haunted ghost lady on the cliff.
Yeah, exactly. Or I may even go out into the ocean.
You'd have to be wearing white, I think.
Yes, most likely I would be wearing white, but it'd probably be one of those velvet white robes with the hood.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, let's do another question. What has been your favorite part about our collaboration?
Man, there's so many things. I'm going to get all gushy. I'm just so thankful for this collaboration, and I think we work really well together. Like, I have never had someone just take an idea and make it a reality so quickly. Like, I can just be like, oh, I'm thinking about this. And you're like, okay, boom, got this website. You ready to go? And I just think that you really round out the areas that I don't strive in. And it's just a great partnership. And I love everything. Like, I just feel like there's so much room for us to grow.
There is. Oh, that's so sweet. So for me, my favorite part is that no matter how crazy my ideas are, you're totally on board with them. So I might be like, okay, this week I think we should talk about this. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's something you don't get to talk about with most people, this kind of stuff. Like, you only have like a specific one or two people in your life that you know you can go to with conspiracy theories or witchcraft. Like,
yes.
It's just, it's great
right.
when you find that person.
Exactly. And for me, like, a lot of stuff that we talk about doesn't actually make it on the podcast. Maybe one day we'll have a separate site for everybody to come to and listen to that kind of after talk. But sometimes we'll talk for hours before or after the podcast. And we're literally just talking about our experiences or where we'd like to go and what we'd like to do and just all of these different cool things. And I don't have anybody that I can really talk about that stuff with. And so it's nice to have somebody there who's like-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice because like there's so many little things that we want to do in the future that like really pair up and
yeah.
Yay, we're gonna be old like witch ladies together.
That's right. For sure.
I'm thankful this has brought us together and definitely connected us more.
Yeah, very cool.
And
very
like connecting
exciting.
us to all of the listeners too. Like it's just been super opening. Okay, I'll draw the next one.
Okay.
Ooh, the death of Marilyn Monroe, suicide or murder?
Oh, this one's a tough one.
I know. It's a big
I
one.
love Marilyn Monroe.
I've both do.
And I've read a lot of books about her. A lot of books. And honestly, for a long time, I thought that she was murdered. But I do think that there's a possibility that she killed herself, whether it was intentional or not.
Right. I go back and forth depending on what I'm reading or watching at the time, because you know how like whoever's making it, their view is very skewed, so that's how it's displayed. Yeah. But like Marilyn Monroe definitely had mental health issues. She was a part of a family that had, I believe, she was diagnosed like bipolar, things like that.
And her mother was mentally ill.
And so I know she had tried to commit suicide, I think 3 to 4 times before her death.
Right. Yeah.
But something that comes up is that like the people who found her body, there's just so many weird things that don't line up. So I was researching it, and like the way that her body was found, she was just lying face down on the bed, like all perfect, like little angel kind of thing, clutching a phone. And they're saying there were pills next to her, so it's suicide because she took too many sleeping pills. And so they're like, well, if she had died from an overdose of pills, she'd be convulsing and having seizures, and she'd be like in a different position, not just sleeping. And then they also said that there was no sign of her orally taking the pills because the time of death, like they would have still been in her body, but there's no sign of her actually taking any pills.
So they didn't find any pills in her system?
No pills in her system. So that's really weird. And there's a lot of weird things that don't add up. Like when she died, they didn't report it right away. Like they waited. There's signs that her body was moved. She has like a burn on her back. So it looks like she was staged. And so like there's all these theories, of course, that come along with her death. And one of the main ones that I think kind of tracks is she was seeing President Kennedy at the time. And so he was actually, well, at that time he was kind of trying to like break it off, and so he sent his brother Bobby to go and like break up with her, and they ended up just having an affair. She was like, oh, I'll take this one, he's hot too. And so like she had this diary, and it was called the Red Diary, and she would write every conversation she ever had with the Kennedys down, including like important political things. And she told her roommate that she just wanted to keep up with them and sound intelligent, so this was like her life, was trying to get into these men's life and like make something happen and like have a relationship with them. But they would like deny her, and it's confirmed, like there's a confirmed CIA document that her phones were being tapped by J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover was the one who was like, Kennedy, you have to break off this affair with her, because she sang that like Happy Birthday Mr. President song, like I think a month or 2 before she got killed. And they're like, this is too salacious. It's way too obvious that you had an affair with her. And she's going to go public, because she threatened, she's like, if you don't come see me, I'm going to go public with everything that you've told me. So people think that it was all this murder, and they murdered her.
Did they actually find her diaries? Do you know?
That's the thing. I was told that it was never found. So it's almost like, does the government have it, or did it not exist?
Right.
Because obviously if they did it, they're not going to just put that in a museum somewhere.
Right. I've even heard that there's a potential that the affairs weren't even real, that part was faked. That, I mean, misconstrued. Not faked, but misconstrued, that they actually didn't have an affair. I don't know what the truth is. I guess I mean, maybe one time we can do a seance and contact her, but
I would almost like not want to bother her, you know?
I know, right? She should be resting in peace. One thing that I found interesting is I read that she had actually been in a mental institution within the month before her death.
Yeah, she was definitely mentally unstable.
Yes, and she...
well, I shouldn't say that, but she had mental health issues that probably were not properly diagnosed, and she was taking a lot of sleeping pills, and a very sad, depressed person.
Right. I think that one of the reasons why she had been in that time, from what I understand, is there was a potential that she lost a child.
Yes,
as well as... Yeah, as well as the fact that she was struggling with an eating disorder. Mm-hmm. So all those things together could really push a woman over the edge, especially if she lost a child. It wasn't the first child I read that she had lost, so I just think if she did lose all these children, she just thought she was worthless.
And it's really hard for people to accept that someone they are enamored with or love or look up to would go to the lengths to kill themselves. I think most people want to deny that, and especially with celebrity deaths, you just want to think no way. Right. But there is a lot of tampering with her body and stuff that just doesn't add up, and so it's easy for me to say, oh, it's a conspiracy. But I completely understand with what you're saying, because there is something so tragic about Marilyn Monroe's constant need to try to find that approval and that love, and she wasn't getting it. And she was not able to attain it, and I think that was really sad for her. But she did use, like, her suicide attempts in the past as kind of like a way to get attention. So she would call people and be like, I'm gonna do it, you know? But she still had, like, all these plans to make movies before she was in the middle of making a movie when she killed herself. And people were just thinking, like, she had plans, you know?
Right. And if she didn't kill herself, there's always that possibility that it was an accident. I know at one point in time I was reading something that made me think there was something that popped into my mind that made me think that she was intoxicated and maybe she tripped and she fell. And maybe potentially that's how she killed herself. Like maybe she somehow hit her head or some part of her body that caused her to die.
Then people think they like placed her there to hide it, though?
Yeah, potentially.
I know that there's another theory I just have to mention because of the kind of things we talk about on the podcast. I don't know if it's true, but Dr. Richard Nygaard-Gear, I think is his name, the guy who does like the Undisclosure documentary. He's like obviously the alien guy, and he says there's a document. Well, you can actually look at the document online. It's another one that's like talking about how the government had an issue with Marilyn Monroe, and then there's all this like redacted information, and he says it's proof that like that's why they killed her, is because she was going to expose the aliens that Kennedy had told her about. He was like, oh yeah, there are definitely aliens, we know about it, and that was one of the things she was going to disclose in the press conference, because she literally told her roommate, yeah, I'm going to go public with everything I know about the Kennedys. I'm going to have a press conference, and then she died shortly after. But that would be crazy if it was an alien disclosure, that the government would go that far. But it almost makes me think like the Kennedys would just try to sound smart around her, or like brag about their knowledge to be men and think that she was too dumb to like cause any harm from it or spread it. Like, why would you tell her these things?
Right. I don't know. It's one of those unanswered questions for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get another question here. So, what is one haunted place you would love to go but have not? Or I should say alleged haunted place that you've wanted to go but have not.
I think I've said this before, but Queen Mary is like top of my list right now.
Yes. Yeah, I know we've talked about that.
Yeah. I just love the idea of the boat having so much activity. I like any YouTuber I've seen who's gone on there has had activity from like knocking, lots of noises, EVPs, doors opening and closing by themselves. Like, that just seems really exhilarating.
Yeah.
And fun. I don't know if I would get much sleep there, but I would be down for that paranormal activity.
That'd be cool. That'd be a good one.
And you?
I think I could narrow it down to two. There's so many places I want to go.
Yeah.
I would choose the Winchester Mystery House. And then also Tombstone.
What's up with Tombstone? I only know the freaking movie.
No, I've heard that's an extremely haunted place. I remember that I was friends with somebody who he used to be one of those tour people at Tombstone, and he said that it was extremely haunted.
Really?
And I've seen several ghost shows that have gone there that have actually come up with picture evidence of ghosts in the graveyard, and I think one of them was on Ghost Adventures.
Is it like a Western haunting? Or...
Yes, a Western haunting.
What?
So like there's all these saloons and potentially haunted stuff there. I think Ghost Hunters has been there too, several different
I might have
places,
seen it. Is it like a ghost town too? Like it's not modern?
Yeah. It's not modern. It's
right.
all ghost town, and you can still go there, and they have all these tours and history that you can look into.
Okay.
And I think you can stay the night there in some places, so it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, desert probably. So what state is this in?
Arizona.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And then what about the Winchester house? Like you just wanted to do like a day tour, or what's your thoughts on that?
I know that they have Halloween night tours. I would love to do that because I think that the activity gets ramped up then. I'm not going to say it's Winchester herself, but I definitely think there's something odd going on there, and I would like to get to the bottom of what's really happening because there's been so many... Just like Marilyn Monroe, there's been so many stories that have been misconstrued, and we don't really know what the truth is.
Yeah, so maybe for listeners who don't know, give them the backstory on Winchester.
So she is this woman who came into some money because I thought that her husband was actually a part of the Winchester Rifle Society.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that, I mean, with the name Winchester, you automatically think rifles, and so she...
Or supernatural.
Yes, exactly. And so she had purchased this home. I think that her husband may have still been alive at the time, but when she purchased this home, there was already ghostly activity on the land where she was building her house. So because of the ghostly activity that was on the property, she wanted to build the house so that ghosts would get confused and not be able to attack her. So she built all of these windows that potentially went to nowhere, doors that went to nowhere, staircases that went to nowhere, just to kind of confuse the ghost. And apparently she has a seance room, but all of this is just kind of up in the air. Like, I don't know what's the reality of it and what of it is Hollywood.
Right, exactly.
So I'd like to get to the bottom of it, and we wouldn't know unless we go there.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to see all the weird little rooms that lead to nowhere and the weird doors, and just be a fun property to go to.
Right. And I know they've done ghost hunting shows there too. And there has been activity, but usually in the basement.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to have to binge watch some ghost hunting shows after this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Good times.
I'll get our next question here.
Okay.
Spontaneous human combustion, fact or fake?
Ooh, that's a big one. I think when I was a child, I used to think immediately that this was real.
Me too.
Today, however, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence.
Yeah. So in case you don't know what this is, spontaneous human combustion is this phenomenon where like people it looks like they just bursted into flames, and all you can really see is their like legs, and then the rest of their body is completely gone in ash. And I remember being a kid, and there were television shows about this, and like specials. It would be like spontaneous human combustion, and it would go over all the evidence photos, which were really freaking creepy. They're real stories of people who like died in flames, and they're telling you it's because like your body can get so blah 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 that it just like burns up. And I was super scared. I just believed everything my TV told me as a kid, okay?
Right. But none of that shit happens now. None of it. I don't hear of those kind of things happening now.
So I found out a theory as to why that is.
Okay.
So I found out it's because I guess it was really big in the 80s and even into the 90s that these were happening. But the cases where it was mostly elderly people who had like oxygen tanks and who were connected to smokers. Yeah. And couches back then used to be filled with like polyester. Not polyester, not the couches. I'm sorry. They used to wear polyester, and there was something in the couches that was flammable that they don't use anymore. And so like all these outdated materials plus the circumstances, they're kind of thinking maybe they just fell asleep with a cigarette. And then that would catch the body on fire. And
only burn the body. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this thing called like the wick effect, that like something about the clothes and the way it melts onto the skin, like the melted fat acts kind of like a wick on a candle. So it'll just burn you up super quickly.
And then burn itself out.
Yeah. And so it doesn't get to the stuff that's low, like your legs.
Right.
So freaking disgusting.
It's gross.
Yeah. So,
but interesting.
Totally freaky. I was so afraid that it was going to happen to me as a kid just from watching the show.
I never once thought it was going to happen to me, but
yeah, no way I did. So I guess I'll chalk that up to childhood fear. Faked.
Yes, faked. Sounds good. Okay, let's get another question here. Has your belief in the paranormal changed, and if so, how?
Yeah, actually, kind of like I was mentioning earlier, just talking to you about your experiences and how you were talking about house cleansings, and that it's really just bad energy could be like a haunting. Like how you were talking about how if someone who's had a horrible house environment or bad fight or whatever, that energy could reside in a home itself, not just a dead person who's messing with you.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that's been unveiled through our research that just kind of broadens my mind, but at the same time, the more I learn, the less I know. It's so true.
Exactly. I think for me, that the only way that it's changed is the fact that anything that I thought possibly could not absolutely exist at all, there's that slight potential that it does exist. If that makes sense.
That like probability.
The probability of anything paranormal existing, has increased. And the way that I believe of demons is different now.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on demons. I don't really know what I think.
Because at first I didn't. It's like I believed in them when I was a child, and then I stopped believing in them, and now I still kind of believe in them, but a little bit differently. I don't think that they're. It's just like they're all some sort of celestial being.
Right, like a collection of negative energy could just be called a demon, maybe.
Right. Plus, if we let's say we have two baskets, and in one basket we put all of our positive thoughts, and in the other basket we put all of our negative thoughts. And what if we're only thinking negative thoughts and our negative basket overflows? Those negative thoughts could become what we would consider to be a demon.
That's horrifying fairy tale.
I know it is. It's the worst story ever. But it could be true. We're just putting all that belief into it that it could become a reality.
Like the tulpas. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like I have questions that lead into that. I'm going to draw another question, see what happens.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. One like hopped out of my cauldron. Let me grab that one.
Oh, I guess that's the one.
That's the one. Okay. What are some of your go-to witch tools?
Tarot cards, for sure. Crystals, stones. Like those are constant. Herbs and oils.
Nice.
All that. Incense. Whatever it is, I'm probably grabbing it. I don't have an athame per se.
Me neither.
So maybe not that. But
yeah.
What about you?
Go to some sort of thing to burn, like sage, Palo Santo, or like incense, like you're saying. Something to just clear the air and change the vibrations.
Yeah.
Always candles for me. There's always some sort of candle to either represent the type of magic I'm doing or a god or a goddess. And I even have like a Pisces candle. So I'm always working with some sort of higher power.
Nice. Love it.
All right. What you got next?
Okay. What kind of life do you really think is out in space?
I feel like this one's hard for me to define. I think it's just like the limits of your imagination almost.
Sure.
Most alien life, I just imagine it being super intelligent and advanced. And I don't think I could even comprehend what advanced technology is like.
Right.
I guess just going back to like our types of alien episodes, maybe that's kind of the start of my beliefs now, as I do believe in those Palladians or different races kind of coexisting and battling. And I'd like to imagine there are space stations out there where all these different type of species at a cantina.
It's like Star Wars, that shit's real.
Yeah, so I really don't know. It's just really all imaginative and what pop culture has shown to me. What about you?
So for me, I think there's a potential that there's life out there that is just like us. Maybe they don't look like us, but maybe their technology is not quite advanced. Maybe they're even caveman-like. I definitely believe that there's other animals out there, I should say. Like, I think that there are animals in our own solar system that we don't know about, and I think that will come out into fruition within the coming years.
Like a space panda?
Well, I guess I was thinking aquatic life, but but that
makes sense. Like some microscopic guy.
Yeah, maybe not even microscopic. Maybe just something small. Like, I like to think of these space dolphins, but maybe they're purple dolphins just floating out there.
Lisa Frank dreams.
Yes,
true.
Exactly. Or maybe, I
would love. Oh my god, if a space dolphin landed here, he'd be pissed. Seeing how we're like putting the dolphins in captivity and making them carry fat tourists around for fun on vests, like
exactly.
I am not happy about the way we're treating dolphins, people.
Yes, exactly. I love this
idea.
I know, right? I like to think that there's that planet that's just filled with Bigfoot. And they interdimensionally travel to us.
Kashyyyk.
I definitely think that it's limitless out there. I think that I can't just rely on what science is telling me until we have our own eyes on it. Like, we have to physically have boots on the ground to know what's what.
For sure. Yeah. So, like, it is just all that we can imagine for now.
Yeah, for sure. But it's out there. Purple dolphins, Bigfoot.
Unbeliever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what we have next. I really love purple dolphins, by the way. I'm all like, yeah. Do you believe or have any superstitions?
Oh, superstitions. I used to have a lot of superstitions, but now I don't think so. Because it's only what you put your thought into it.
Exactly.
So I guess not so much anymore.
One of mine that I used to have, I'm kind of the same, like I used to have superstitions. Like, I thought if I watched a show on human combustion or whatever, thinking about it would cause me to blow up. I used to think that if I looked at someone, like I remember this cashier guy, he had like crazy acne. And I was like a really small kid and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy bad. And then I was like, oh my God, don't look at that and think that, or you're going to wake up with crazy zit. I literally used to think that my negative thoughts on anything would go back on me. Like almost the 3x3 rule in my head was always there. And that was something I had as a kid and that I don't really have anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely don't. I don't remember having things like that. I
do knock on wood.
Yes, I do still knock on wood. But now it's more like if I were going to believe in superstitions, it would be called karma. So I do believe that if you have a negative attitude towards somebody, then that potentially could come back to you. But it's not like, oh, I think that okay, wait, I'm just kidding. I do have one superstition.
Oh, we found one.
So, yeah, here it is. It's that red circle around the moon that sometimes happens.
Blood on the moon?
Yeah. So sometimes I believe that can be a foretelling of something bad that might be happening in the world, whether it's a mass amount of deaths from an earthquake or war or something like that. That's what I believe.
I only learned about that because of Practical Magic.
I know, right? Same.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Or that whole thing where the broom falls. That means company's coming. I don't believe in that. But but I do have to say that a lot of superstitions came from witchcraft type ideas.
Exactly. So it's almost like there's a lot in witchcraft that I'm not even thinking about. But
right, exactly.
Maybe casting a circle is technically a superstition. I don't know. Putting salt on your doorway and rocks above your doorway and maybe all of that could be considered a superstition.
Potentially, yeah. I guess I do believe that negative energy could enter if I didn't have those crystals. I mean, because it has entered. So that's why I believe in it.
Right, like I believe in the evil eye. I wear the evil eye bracelet. I believe that reflects evil energy.
Yes, I do believe people can curse you.
That's true. And like I'm covering all of them.
Oh no. I said I didn't believe in superstitions, but I guess I don't believe in the ones like step on a crack, break your mama's back. Walk under a ladder, something bad's gonna happen to you. No.
Breaking a mirror, 70s bad luck. It's kind of like we want to say no to that negative stuff. You're not gonna have power over me. Right. You know, so I guess I try to use superstitions in a way to empower myself from negativity, I guess. Sure. Yeah. Agreed. So I think we uncovered more superstitions than we thought.
I know, right? It's like, I don't believe in it. Oh, wait, I do.
Oh, shit.
Okay. So my next question is, what do you think happens to the missing 411?
Oh, man. Okay. This is another one I think needs backstory.
Yes, this needs a backstory. So the missing 411 is this group of books that was written by a guy named David Paulides. He was a retired police officer, or he is a retired police officer, but at the time he started finding these things, I think he was still a police officer. But he also has a documentary, which I highly suggest everybody watch this. It's actually really good. These people, he calls the missing 411, go missing in state and federal parks. And there's usually highly strange stuff that happens during these instances of disappearance. Like, for instance, maybe somebody goes missing and they go to search for them and they can't find them. And then the next day they go out searching again and they find a piece of the clothing in an area they'd already searched. Or maybe somebody goes missing and they show up miles and miles away when it's just a small child. How could they have walked so far?
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of strange, unexplained phenomenon that goes along with it.
Right.
It's hard to say, like in the books, I haven't read them, but I've read and heard enough stuff from Mr. Paulides to know kind of what his mindset is. He doesn't want to put any ideas in anyone's head. He doesn't come out and say, "Oh, it's Bigfoot, it's portals, it's UFOs." It's just something strange that happens. And usually these people go missing, but not at the hands of another human being. So that's the other part. Or animal. Yeah, there's been cases where there's been no blood at the scene at all.
And the clothes, they might have holes, but it's maybe just from like birds who were taking the clothes apart.
For a nest, afterwards. After they've been taken off the person. They just literally disappear, sometimes with no trace whatsoever. And there's no logs to tell you how many people disappear. Like, I guess for a lot of years, there weren't any logs.
Yeah, I heard that there's still no national standard. So the people who go missing, it's not even required for you to write that person's name.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of this I saw happening in Oregon, in all of these national parks. At first, I thought it was only children.
Right, but it's not. It's everybody.
It's not. It's adults. And there have been some who have been found, but then they've had missing time. Right. Adults and children. And it's like they're almost transported, like a 2-year-old who's like their shoes were found on a rock super high up. There's no way they got there. You could tell that the shoe is in pristine condition. It didn't stay outside for 3 years. It doesn't have no wetness or deterioration or scuff marks. If it was dragged, they're saying the shoe would have had scuff marks. Right. So like all of these experts and search and rescue people, they have no idea. Nothing is lining up. And I only know a little bit about this stuff, so I'm curious to dive more into it, but I've heard some weird theories.
I mean, just a little that you know about it. What is your theory?
I don't know, so I have to play with the weird theories to get there, because I just don't know. I am not a wilderness expert, so therefore my mind has no logical conclusion. Right. So if I'm going to play around with these ideas, because it's kids, some people like to say it's the fae or fairy. And I know that I did have a belief in the fairy for some reason. I know that sounds crazy, but there's a part of me that hears all these fairy stories from Ireland and the fear that they have of going off path and getting abducted. That kind of made my mind believe it a little bit. So that's kind of a superstitious belief, I guess I would say. I don't quite understand how Bigfoot's involved, but I'm interested in anything Bigfoot, so I want you to, like, what do you know about that?
I think that I've heard there was one story in particular, which I think I kind of talked to you about through like a video chat.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So this case, I forget the kid's name now. I feel so bad. He went missing, but before he went missing, he was only 3 years old. But before he went missing, he had asked if there were bears or other large animals in the area, like he had seen something. So, you know, some people believe that it could be Bigfoot. I personally think, do you remember when we were talking about hellmouths and I was talking about the Enochian gates?
Yeah.
I honestly think, what if they stumbled upon a gate or something that they went through to another dimension?
Like, gate could mean so much,
right?
I couldn't even comprehend. It could be like the freaking fridge in Ghostbusters. To me, everything goes back to fiction because it's all I can relate it to.
I know, right?
But holy shit, gate is so deep. So what do you think of when you think of gate?
When I think of gate, I just think of this invisible thing, like maybe you wouldn't see it, and you walk through, and when you get to the other side, you think you're still in the same place, but you're not actually in the same place.
Oh my god, so the upside down? Yes.
Right, something like that. Something like that. I definitely think that kind of stuff exists. I've seen... I don't want to go into that, but I just know that there are some odd things out there. And I've seen enough and heard enough and experienced enough to know that anything is possible. So I feel like there could be aliens involved. And if we think Bigfoot's an alien, he could be involved, but maybe just as a lure to lure them. Because if you're a little child or even an adult, you want to be lured. You're like, dang, is that a Bigfoot? I got to follow him.
Rabbit hole, like Alice in Wonderland style.
Exactly. So it could totally be that kind of situation. Or Bigfoot's not involved at all. Maybe humans are involved, but we just want to think it's something paranormal. But as many I totally listen to all of these human involved disappearances and killings and that kind of stuff. I've been following that for years,
right?
And I've seen enough to know that I believe that these people are not involved with a human murder. I think that there's something more mysterious going on here.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I don't feel like I'm an expert in this field whatsoever.
Sure.
And I don't ever want to disrespect like these real true crime stories by throwing in Bigfoot for my own entertainment purposes. Yeah. But I believe these experts who are telling me the evidence doesn't line up and there's a conspiracy here.
Right. I'm not going to say that every single case is paranormal. The majority of them are not. But I do believe that there are these rare instances out there. They're just these rare ones that I think that there's paranormal involved.
Okay. Out of all the 411, you mean?
Out of any disappearances. Because even regular disappearances, I've heard a few where I'm just like, wait a minute. There's something missing.
There's a lot in Oregon.
Yes, tons. Oregon is the third state in the United States that has the most missing people per capita.
Which is so scary. Is it because they're all just like lonely murderers? That's my fear.
No, I believe that we have a high, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but we have a high sex trafficking.
Fuck.
So young, not just children, but young adults will be taken for that. And I wanted to not believe that shit was real because I do have children. But the more and more that I hear, I've even heard stories like from legitimate people that are a friend of a friend where it almost happened to them not too far from the town that I live in. So when I hear a story so close to home, I'm just like, that crap is all over the United States, but it's rampant here in Oregon as well. And we like to close our eyes to it. So,
and you know, why is that? Is that the government trying to shield us because they just want to keep things quiet because it's easier that way? And we all know that Trump is into that kind of stuff. Wow, we never get political, but or is it just because?
I just think because it's scary shit and nobody wants to talk about it.
It's easier to ignore it. Exactly.
Yeah, it's easier to ignore the cut on your leg than to talk about why it happened. So
that's such a scary fear of mine.
Yeah, it's
like
a big deal.
I always feel like traveling alone as a woman, there's this uncomfortability there.
Right. Anything could happen.
Right. Like, people are always gawking. I'm sorry, but, like, what are the signs of sex traffickers? I need a PSA.
We'll have to talk about that.
Scared me more than the 411.
I'm so sorry.
This got too creepy.
It's just got too deep. Too deep. Let's bring it back to the paranormal shit. So,
Bigfoot. He can abduct me.
Humans are so scary. But let's talk about that. Totally. Let's talk about that gate theory for a minute, or this other story. So, like, one of the stories that I came across, this was not in the missing 411, but should have been. This woman, this was like in the mid 80s. Her and her son lived alone in an apartment in Florida, and she typically worked nights, but this particular night that she had off, so her and her son, they were sitting around watching TV, having a good time. They had some popcorn. She did some dishes, and then she put him to sleep, you know, because he's a kid. She can't keep him up all night, but she wanted to stay on that nighttime schedule. So for anybody who's worked nights, it's a good thing you continue to stay up nights so that you're not fucking with your body. So she stayed up, and, you know, she's sitting around, she's reading, she's paying some bills, shit like that. And she all of a sudden feels this urge to go do something she would never normally do. And she went outside, like, she felt like she was drawn. She went outside and went swimming at 3 o'clock in the morning in the pool at her apartment complex. She never goes swimming because she hates water and she hates swimming. She goes swimming and she comes back and immediately takes a shower. Before she gets in the shower, she sees her son sleeping in bed. Now, mind you, all of her doors are locked. All of her windows are locked. She goes into the shower and she comes out and her son is missing. And there's absolutely zero sign of where he went. No leads, nothing human related that could possibly be found. The fact that she felt that immense urge to go do something outside of the home that she would normally never do made me think that she was being coerced paranormally to do something like that.
Possible. I'm still freaked out. I'm all freaked out. Yeah, so there's a missing 411 case at Crater Lake, and I know you love that place, and we've talked about its magical properties and how transformative it is. But I guess a kid was, like, climbing up just on the side of the road, and there was even, like, a bicyclist there, and I think the kid wanted to, like, throw a rock at him, and then the bicyclist was like, no, don't do that. And that kid, like, I don't know how he got unseen for a little bit, but then he was gone.
Yeah, his dad turned his back for just a minute, and then, I mean, literally not even a minute, probably 25, 30 seconds, he turns his back, and he turns around, and the kid is gone. Just gone. And there was no trace, no footprints. And that's the thing that always gets me in these missing 411 cases. There's no footprints. There's no blood. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing to indicate that an animal was involved, because animal attacks are rampant in all forest areas. But
right, and so they know the cause. Like, I heard that if it would be a cat, they would go for the belly. There would be obviously mouth stuff, but, like,
massive amounts of blood, though.
Right. Yeah. And so there's none of that. And their clothes are usually pristine condition, if not just a little bit holy. Yeah.
Intact. Sometimes they're intact. Sometimes they will find the body and it'll be in an area they already searched thoroughly. Somewhere that they already had cadaver dogs out and searched there and nothing was there. So, I mean, if you go to humans, like a human, yes, could have killed them somewhere else and brought them back to an area that somebody had searched. But the reality of that is most likely that didn't happen in this.
So what is this gate doing to the kids? You know, maybe it is like a UFO doing experiments.
It could be a UFO doing experiments. I guess I was thinking if a gate situation happened, like if they went through the gate and they went to some other dimension, and then when they came back, their body couldn't handle the re-entry. Or maybe it's like a missing amount of time where the gate, because it's in a different dimension, they experience a whole life over there. Because a lot of times too, when they find the bodies, the bones may be older than when they went missing. But it's still them. And that's the crazy part. It's like, okay, so they were out and alive for years, and now we're just finding their bones, but these bones are older than when they went missing.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, looking into this stuff, I got really paranoid when I was hanging out with my friends the other day because she has a little one. And anytime he was, like, out of sight, I was just thinking about missing 411, missing 411, missing 411.
Yeah.
My little brain is going to explode. So I know we have, like, a couple more questions here.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. Let's go on.
No, you're good. You're good. That was a good one. Maybe we'll have to get deeper into 411,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is, would you willingly board a UFO?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I would.
Really?
I would.
Under what circumstances? Like, do you have any stipulations?
Curiosity. That's all. Curiosity. Like, I would want to go on there and see, is it really aliens or is it just other human being technology that we are not privy to because we're on a need to know basis and we don't need to know? Is it really aliens or is it the Russians?
That's the other number one culprit.
Yeah, or the Chinese, or, you know, is there some logical explanation behind it? So I'd want to go on there and see.
I don't know if I would go alone. I have anxiety just doing basic shit. Let alone getting on a UFO. I definitely wouldn't get on unless I had previous contact with the creature that I had established trust with. Like, I just don't think I could take a leap of faith, go up into a UFO kind of thing.
Okay. Good to know. So I guess I'll be going alone.
Yeah, it's going to be like the horrible tragedy of our separation. It's just you go up in this light and I stay on Earth and hold Bigfoot's hand. It's like saying goodbye to you.
Yeah. Okay. My next question is, what would you do if you came face to face with a cryptid creature?
Well, it depends on the creature. So, like, if we were to just, like, chilling on Loch Ness, I would definitely be, like, screaming and, like, look, 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 and, like, take a picture. But honestly, I never have my phone out. I hardly have any pictures of myself or my life. So I probably would not even. I would want to be in the moment. Let's be honest here.
Right.
I would just be looking and captivated, especially if it was just one of those moments where it's boom and then it's done.
Right.
Ooh, I don't know if I would get it on camera. I always thought I would, but then as soon as I talked it out, I realized, no, I don't live through the lens like that.
Exactly. Same. I rarely have my phone in my hands. So for me, I think I would be in this moment of awe, trying to take in everything that I possibly could just by looking at it. And then I'd have to get regressed afterwards just to see, what really fucking happened.
Go through some therapy, regression therapy.
Yeah.
Betty and Barney Hill.
I'd have to have you put me in a deep meditative state so I could tell you what I really saw. Like every detail.
The some cryptids I think you would not want to even fuck with. Like a chupacabra.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I would want my panic to be low. Like, I would want to try not to go into panic mode, because it's the same thing. Like, I've seen bears before in the wild and I didn't panic. So I have a feeling that if I saw another cryptid creature, I would not go into the panic mode, because I've had so much training to know that if you go into the panic mode, most likely they're going to try to attack you. So I think I would stand still and become very, very quiet.
I like that, and if I would try to follow suit if I was with you, but I want to know what cryptid would probably scare you the most.
Shoot.
Like Mothman? Would he freak you out?
No. Not Mothman, not Bigfoot. Maybe a Wendigo. It would depend. Like, if they saw me and came out claws out, that's when I would start freaking out. So it would depend on the creature. What about you?
I think anything large and that could look like it would kill me, and if it was at night in the dark, I'd be pretty scared. Mm-hmm. Like, just going to my dumpster and taking my dog out at night, I look at the bushes very suspiciously, and I'm just like thinking about werewolves, or I think about like creepy moon-faced demon guys.
Oh my gosh. I was like, 2 weeks ago we saw a bat flying in our backyard, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen.
I love bats, actually.
I just don't get as scared anymore as I used to. So I think that it would take a little bit to to creep me out.
Yeah, well, I guess it's all my agoraphobia in life, you know?
Right. We'll work on that.
Okay, I'm going to get to the next question here. This is my last question I have.
Okay.
How has 1 year of podcasting changed you?
Ooh, I feel like it's made me more open.
Yeah.
About talking about not just my abilities, but my experiences. Now I'm finding I'm even talking to people in person about that, whereas I was always kind of closed off. So I feel like it's made me less fearful about speaking my truth. Mm-hmm. What about you?
The exact same, 100%. Like,
yeah.
I went from being super fearful in the broom closet to forcing myself out through the desire to podcast with you and have a podcast. Like, it just pushed me to this new level. But at first I was like, well, it's online. No one's going to know.
Right.
And really quickly, everyone is knowing in my personal life who I never felt the need to tell that to.
Sure.
But, like, opening up has actually enriched my life. That's all it's done for me, is made my life better in a sense.
Yeah.
So I've met so many more witches and so many different people, and it's really fun when you can connect on that level and I don't know, just peel back the little onion layers like Trek.
Sure. And lots of really good empowerment. Like, I love the fact that we have found these other witches out there that are just amazing people. So it's nice. It's great empowerment, I feel like.
Yay. Yeah. It's been great journey so far. So I'm excited. Yay for our first year of Cousins Coven. Thanks for everyone who's ever listened and continued to listen. We'd appreciate it so much.
Yes. And everywhere all over the world. We're not just in the United States. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to be on this journey with us.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have one more question?
I'll have one more question.
All right.
It's kind of a funny one. So, would you attempt fate and travel to the Bermuda Triangle?
I think it's been obvious this episode I have lots of anxiety, so no!
Oh my gosh.
No. I will go to haunted places, but I don't really even know the deal with Bermuda Triangle, but I already think traveling by boat in the water is already pretty creepy. I don't want to do anything that has to do with portals. I'm out.
Okay.
What about you? You sound like you would go on like a tour boat.
I would go on a tour boat for sure.
Oh my god. What happens in the Bermuda Triangle? Don't you disappear? I'm getting angry with you. I'm like, what?
Sorry. I actually think that part of the Bermuda Triangle may be faked, but I'm not absolutely sure because I haven't experienced it. So I would want to have the experience of it. I've watched a lot of different shows about people going to the Bermuda Triangle, kind of behind the scenes. There's this show called Destination Truth that they went there. There's this explorer, Josh Gates. He's been there several times and he's never once went missing. So I feel like he showed that there was definitely an electromagnetic field that was in the area, but nothing really super paranormal. So I feel like a lot of the stories that used to happen back in the day may not exist in today's environment. So I guess I would want to get to the root of what caused it and what is really there. So if I were going to travel there, it would be strictly on an anthropological fact-finding mission. So.
Yes, your little paranormal brain just wanting to go get some answers.
Yeah. Gotta locate that truth.
You definitely need a TV show.
I know, right?
Well, I love it. You're definitely more adventurous today than me. I'm just not feeling it. But you're ready to go through some portals and UFOs.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm older than you, so I feel like I've already...
You're at that fuck it age.
Yeah, I'm at that age where I'm just like, you know what? What sounds better, going to work or, looking for aliens?
Wow. You know what? You honestly kind of reminded me of my childhood. I would get really upset with Dorothy and Alice from Alice in Wonderland and Dorothy from Wizard of Oz and the Chronicles of Narnia kids because they were always bitching about wanting to go home. And at the time I was like, who wants to go home? You're in Narnia, like party it up.
I always wanted to have a Narnia cupboard.
Yes. You know, I need to reawaken that childhood adventure.
Yes.
All right. I'll go to the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
I'll open myself up to experiences.
Let's go to the National Forest but I don't want to say become a missing 411.
No, yeah, please.
I do have family and I do want to see them again, but definitely want to get to the root of what's really happening. So.
All right. Now I'm too scared again. Too far.
Too far. I'm so sorry. Gonna find the truth, man.
Well, I feel like that should wrap up our discussion for today. I am interested to know what kind of topics do you guys like the most. We try to do questions from each of our type of things that we cover. Like I know we talk about witchcraft, conspiracy theories, aliens. We try to cover weird history, ghosts, of course. So let us know if you have any suggestions for any of that or what type of material you want to hear more of. I'm curious.
Yeah. And if you guys have any experiences with any of these things or deep thoughts, like especially these questions that we've asked today, give us some feedback. We would love to hear your stories. Yeah.
We always look forward to your messages.
Yeah.
And I think this has been a great first year. I'm looking forward to more.
Woohoo, me too.
Yay.
Me too. Being along on this long episode.
Yes. Well, you can join us next Wednesday where we're going to be discussing the tools of a witch as well as herbs and oils. And in the meantime, find us over on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Cousins Coven. And you can check out our blog at cousinscoven.home.blog where you can find witchy words of wisdom, spells, and all of our archived podcast episodes from season 1. And like we were saying, send in any of those questions, fan mail, whatever you got, over to cousinscoven2@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Please like, subscribe, and share with all of your witchy and weirdo friends.
Yay. And may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and joy in each other. Blessings to all.